Hello, 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 everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some simple art projects. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are painting the summer sunset. I have out black, white, a very bright yellow, primary yellow, a very soft pink, sea glass or mint green, whichever you have. And then I have this fawn. It's a little dark, so I'm going to lighten it up with white. I looked for linen. I didn't have any. If you have linen, that's fine. That's perfect. I have about a 1/2 inch flat brush. I have a medium to small round brush. And then I have my trusty old warped liner brush that I just can't seem to part with. And I have the tracer and I have a piece of graphite paper. So we will get started. I'm going to just turn my camera view around and we can go. What I love about this, now I have painted many beach scenes. I love the beach. I love the summer. I love the color palette in this particular beach scene. The soft pastels are just gorgeous. So I have my tracer. You have your tracer. I'm going to line it up. And I'm going to put a little piece of tape to hold it together. Okay, then I'm going to come over here. I am using an 11 by 17 canvas. And I am just going to feel my canvas on the bottom. I have my bottom lined up. I want to have 4 poles on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have to be exact. But I want to have the 4 poles on the bottom. Okay. Then I'm going to take another little piece of tape and I'm going to tape this down into place. Then I'm going to take my graphite paper and I'm going to slide it up and under. I'm going to hinge my tracer up, put the graphite paper down, and just slip it under there. Make sure this is straight, and there we go. Okay, now you can use a pencil, you can use a stylus, you can use the back of the brush, whatever you choose to use. Be careful you don't press too hard if you're working on a canvas. We don't want to go through the canvas. And I'm just going to start tracing in these lines. Now this is our horizon. When we paint horizon lines, we paint beach scenes, we want our horizon line to be as straight as possible. Okay, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start adding in my fence posts. And they don't have to be perfectly straight. I'm just tracing them. And then I will come over here and I will do the crossbar on one side and then this crossbar on the other side. Then I want to just lift up and make sure it worked. And it did. Okay. So I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to remove my graphite paper. As you can see, it is very well worn. I've used it several times. Graphite paper lasts a really long time. I'm just going to come in here. I'm just going to darken up my fence posts a little bit. You may or may not need to do this. It's totally up to you. I want to be able to see them when we get started painting. Yeah, I'm going to start out with our tan and some white. We're going to need a lot of white for this painting. Every time we use colors or switch colors, we're going to go to white. So I'm going to get out a decent amount of white. And then I'm going to put out some of this tan color. And like I said, I want my tan to be a little lighter. I'm using DecoArt Fawn, but I'm going to want that to be a little bit lighter as we go. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to come over here to my paint and I'm going to come to the side. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on my brush and I'm going to have the brush fibers, hairs, whatever you want to call them, get nice and filled up with some paint. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add some tan and white because I want mine to be light. Okay, and pick up some more white. If you are using the linen, just go right to the linen and white, and that will be totally fine. Most of this painting, except for the fence, and when we do our grasses and our seagulls, most of this painting is going to be horizontal strokes. Let me show you something. When we paint horizontally, we want to move our whole arm. Sometimes it's easier if you turn your canvas vertically and pull up and down. We don't want to windshield wiper. You don't want to be doing this and getting a slight curve into your brush strokes. You want to move from the shoulder, and you want to have your lines horizontal, 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 back and forth. Okay? So let me switch again. If you need to turn yours vertically, that is fine. But I'm going to start in here, and I am moving from my shoulder. I'm going to pick up some more of my tan and some more of my white, and I'm going in again. You do not want to overblend. You want to see various colors of white and different shades of the tan. And I'm going to go about up into the bottom of my fence. And you should still be able to see your fence. We got a lot of shading going on in here. You want your paint to be wet. And I am also going to do my edges. I'm going to just come over here on the one corner. I'm going to come over here on the other corner. And I'll be doing this throughout the lesson. And then I want to do the bottom as well. Now, you don't have to do this. It is totally up to you. It is your choice. You can leave the edge. You can do the edge one solid color. You can do it matching like I am, or you could go back and do something really fun and whimsy to your edge. It is totally up to you. It is your art, your way. Okay. So now I have gotten in all my sand. Okay. Next color I'm going to get out is my mint or my sea glass, whichever you have. We don't have to wash our brush yet. And I'm going to put out a decent puddle of this sea glass right here. Right? And again, we are going to, let's see, we can see. Yeah, okay. Pick up white and then our sea glass with the corner. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in here and we're going to start blending in our sea glass. Now I'm using my brush on the chisel edge now, straight up and down. We want to get a nice blend in here between our sand, tan, white, and our green. We don't want it to be stripy. So I'm going back and forth a little bit. Let me pick up a little bit more white, and I'll just go back and forth in here. Okay. Then I'm going to start working my way up. Green, white, and in here. Again, I'm moving from my shoulder. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this from my elbow. I'm moving my whole arm from my shoulder. We want to go about halfway up with our mint and our green. With our mint and our white. Mint green, sea glass green, whatever it is, and our white. We want to go about halfway up. Every time I dip my brush or need more paint, I go into the green and the white at the same time. If you think you have too much green, just go into the white. If you think you have too much white, go pick up more green. It is totally fine. Don't fret. And again, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to carry the green around the sides of my canvas. Okay. Both sides here, just where we have our mint green. And then I want to just blend that in a little bit. There we go. My paint is getting all in the way. Let me put out my pink. Now I am using, this is baby pink from Folk Art. You could use any kind of soft pink you want. And again, I'm going to, still with my dirty brush, I'm going to pick up some pink on my brush, and I'm going to come over here to the white again. And now I'm going to start blending in my pink. Right? And I just want to come up to about the horizon line. And again, we want our horizon line to stay nice and straight. Picking up some pink, picking up some white, and I just want to come right up here to our horizon line with my pink and my white. If you get too much pink, pick up white. If you get too much white, pick up pink. And I like to go back along the line where I change colors. I'm going to use the chisel end of my brush, and then I'm going to come back in and blend it so we don't have a stripy effect, but we have more of a blended effect. Using the chisel edge of my brush gets a little more paint in there, and then I turn my brush on its side and I'm able to blend a little more. And again, I'm going to do my sides. Okay. Now we're going to stick with our pink and white. Nice amount of pink. Pick up some white on my brush. And we're going to go to the very top. And we're just going to repeat. So now we're going to repeat the pink. We're going to repeat the green. And then we're going to add a strip of yellow in here. Oh, picked up a little green. Totally okay. I'm going to add a strip of yellow in here for where our sun is setting on the horizon. Okay, again, we don't want to overblend. You want to see shades of pink. You want to see shades of all kinds of pink, light pink, dark pink. Use more white if you have to. Use less white if you have to. The important thing about blending is you want all your paint to be wet. You need the paint on your brush to be wet, and you need the paint on your canvas to be wet. If we want to fix something or go back and tweak something or touch something up, that's when you want your paint to be dry. So you need to have a little patience and let it dry, and then you can tweak it. But if we want to blend and have nice blending, we need the paint on our brush and the paint on our surface to be wet. So we pick up some pink and some white on my pink brush. And again, don't forget, we don't want any windshield wiping. You want to move from the shoulder back and forth. Dirty brush. Still not cleaning my brush. I'm going to go in here to the green and pick up some white. And now I'm going to start with this green level again, or layer again, I should say. Going back and forth, back and forth. Pick up some more green, pick up some more white, and back and forth. This is the majority of our project, is creating this soft effect with these different colors. You can make your bands as wide as you like. This, I need a little bit more paint there. Yep. You can make them as dark as you like. Mine are very pastel, and I like that. But if you want yours to be a little bit more vibrant, either use different colors or use less white. It's totally okay. Okay. I'm going to put out some yellow. And we want to do the same thing. We still don't need to wash our brush, believe it or not. I'm going to come here with the yellow. I'm going to come over here to the white. And we're going to start on our yellow section. Now, don't be afraid if I'm going too fast. With this part, it's important to move quickly because in order to blend, you want your paint to be wet. But I do understand that I could be moving too quickly for some of you. Don't get nervous. Don't fret. Hit pause. That is the beauty of these recorded Zoom sessions, that you can just hit pause, catch up, blend, go get a snack, whatever you need to do, and then come back to your project. I'm gonna do the side a little bit. And here a little bit. Now I want my yellow to be a little wider, so I'm gonna bring up my yellow a bit more. Again, I'm using my chisel edge. That's when you stand the brush up vertically. I'm using the chisel edge right along the pink here. Add a little bit more extra paint, and then I want to blend it in. Okay, I'm going to pick up some yellow and pick up some white, and I'm going to go back to the top. I'm just expanding on my yellow a little bit. I'm blending it into my green, and I'm just making this particular band a little darker as I blend. Fix my yellow on the side a little bit. Now I picked up a little bit of plain yellow. I dripped it in there. That's okay. Get rid of that. I picked up a little bit of plain yellow. I wanted my yellow here in the middle to be a little brighter. So instead of picking up white that time, I just picked up yellow. So now we have our whole background there. Okay, still using the big brush. I'm going to come in here to just the yellow, and I'm going to put a little bit of pressure. I want to fix my brush. So if your brush is all wonky, if you have your hair sticking out, you don't want your brush to look like this. You want your brush to look like this. You want your brush to have a nice chisel edge. You want the hair on your brush, your fibers on your brush to be nice. So you want to come in here with a little bit of pressure with the yellow paint and make sure your brush fibers are nice and neat. Okay. Then using our chisel edge, I'm going to come in the middle, and I'm just going to start adding in some little strokes of yellow, and we're going to make a pie shape. Pick up some yellow, and this is going to be the rays of our sun, but as we get further down, we want them to narrow. I'm going to come over, I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, and I'm going to do the same thing with the white. Get it on the tip of my brush. I'm going to use the chisel edge of my brush, and I'm going to add some white in here. Then I'm going to come over here, and I just want to add a little bit of white up here on the horizon line. Not too much, not too heavy. I'm using a very light touch, and brighten up our horizon line where it meets our water. Okay, that's it. If you want a little bit more yellow, which I do, I'm going to come back in here again with my chisel edge and add a little bit more yellow where my sun is reflecting onto the beach. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow up here, and I'm just going to add a little bit into my sky. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with the white. And I'm going to just add a little bit of white into my pink here and up here into my sky. Not too much. And I still haven't washed my brush. Okay. Now I'm going to get some white and some tan back on my brush. Mostly white. And I want to come in here and I want to dab in like a little smiley face. And out to the sides. This is where presumably our water is lapping up over the sand and onto the beach. And we just want to have like a nice watermark. So I mixed a little bit of tan, but mostly white, and use my brush in a pouncing motion up and down to put that little line in there. It doesn't have to go all the way to the end because we're going to cover this up. We're going to put our fence, we're going to put our grasses. You're not going to see it. So we just want this part in there, and I extended it out to the sides a little bit. And then you can wash your brush. So now for this next step. And feel free to hit pause if you're still working on your background. I do encourage you to move quickly, and I do encourage you to be positive. We are our own worst critics. Art is not supposed to be looked at so up front. And when you hold it out a little bit, 6 to 8 inches from, well, even more than that, maybe a couple of feet from your face, you get a different perspective. And so when you're like this right on top of it, you see all the little things. Don't worry about it. We have to add the fence. We have to add the grasses. You might be over here going, oh, look, I don't like this part. You're not going to see that part. Wait for the process. Wait as we go through the steps. And when it's all done, look at it as a whole instead of stopping in the middle and being like, oh, look at that one. That's all crooked. Nope, nope, nope. I want you to let it go. Let it go. Okay. Anyway, back to business here. So you can use the brush we've been using if you're comfortable with that, or you can use a round brush, or you can use a smaller flat brush. I'm going to stick with this brush. I'm going to come over here to the clean part of my white. I can, 1, 2, 3, 4, still see my fence posts. You want to start at the top of your fence post, regardless of what brush you're using, this one, a round one, or a smaller flat one. The motion is the same. You want to start at the top. You want to add a little bit of pressure to make it a little thick. And then you're going to pull down the length of your fence post. I ran out of paint down here, so I'm going to do that again. Okay, and don't forget, we're going to put grasses down here. So it's going to cover up our edges and everything. Okay, I'm going to come up here to the next line of my fence post. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure. And I'm going to pull down. Now, this is an old, ratty, weather-beaten fence at the beach. If your lines are a little off, if they're a little fat, if they're a little thin, don't fret. This fence has seen a lot of salt water and wind and sun. Okay, again, I'm going to stand my brush up. I'm going to have a little bit of pressure. And I'm going to push down. We're not worrying about down here because we're going to cover that with grass. And then the last one here. If you can't see your pencil marks, you can do them by hand, you can do them by pencil, you can do them by chalk, or you can overlay your tracer again. Now I need to do the sidebar. I still want to, this is the part we're going to see, this is the end we're going to see. So I'm going to start on this side and I'm going to pull out to the end because we want this side, the side of our fence that we're going to see, to be the better end. What goes off the canvas we don't really care about. Okay. And then we're going to repeat that on the opposite side. So again, I stand my brush up, I'm going to push, a little bit of pressure, and pull down. Now this one I tend to run out of paint on because it's a long pull. Okay, pick up some more paint, pressure, pull down, pick up some more paint, add a little pressure, pull down, and then last but not least, this one. And you can see I got a little bit crooked up there on the top, so I'm just going to fix that and pull it in. And then again, we want to add our crossbar. We want to make them fairly equal. I'm going to push and go off to the side. Okay. So now we've pretty much gotten all the basics in. We did a nice blending, tan, mint, pink, pink, mint, yellow. Then we added some highlights for our sun. rays on the water. Then we just went in and added a little bit of white in our pink and a little bit of yellow into our sky. Then we used either the same thicker brush or a round brush, whatever brush you choose, you're comfortable with. And we traced in or added in the white for our fence posts. Well, not before we dabbed in the beach line here. Now I am going to go to my round brush. I'm going to pick up some nice fresh white and I'm going to make a circle. Now, when I have to make a circle, I will usually trace something. So this is, for this size canvas, this is the perfect size. If you're on a 16 by 20, you might want a larger sun. I think this size will be too big. If you want to freehand it, go right ahead and freehand it. If you have a water cup around, I might as well take a sip. Whatever you need to do, freehand it, draw it, trace it, whatever. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to trace around the bottom of my paint bottle and pick it up, and voila. Now I'm going to wipe it off before I make a mess. And then we want to fill this in, our sun, with some nice bright white. We want our sun to really pop. You may need to come back and add a second coat to that. You'll know that, it's up to you. But there we have it. We have our nice bright white in there for our sun. Okay. Okay. Now I'm just going to wash my brush a little bit. And I'm going to put out a little bit of black. Okay. Now, if you want to practice this part, let me get a little scrap paper. Okay. You want to practice your seagulls, grab a piece of scrap paper and do so. I'm going to use my little round brush. If you need to use your liner brush, that's okay too. It's up to you. I'm going to come over here, my black. I'm just going to use the tip of my round brush. I'm going to twirl it into the paint. I'm rolling it between my pointer and my thumb. I want to get a nice tip on it. And a seagull is a V. The only difference with the seagull V is that it's more of like a wide V. Okay. So you want to light pressure, bring one side down, and then bring the other side up. I don't like the tip on that. So let me fix that. I might have to get my liner, we'll see. But you want to do one part of the V and then the other part of the V. And like I said, if you need to get some scrap paper to practice on, go right ahead. I'll go back to my painting here. I'm going to make a nice point again on my brush. Should probably do it every time. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put in one part of the V and the other part. And then over here, one part of the V and the other part. Now, if you think that your seagull is a little too fat, we're going to show you how to fix that at the end. So don't fret. Okay. Now that we have a little black on our brush, we're going to come in here and we're going to add a little bit of black to the left sides of all our posts and the bottom part to our posts. We don't want to come in here with one solid line. Remember, these posts have been weathered by the sun and the wind and the salt. So we just want to pull up bit by bit on the very tip of the brush, a little bit of black. And some of my white is wet, so some of it's a gray, some of it's becoming gray, and some of it's black. That's totally okay. I'm going to pick up some fresh black. And we're just going to pull a little in here. You don't want a total straight line. You want it broken up, and it's totally fine if some of yours is still wet and it's making a little bit of a gray and not so much of a black. Okay, and then we want to go along the bottom. So I'm putting a little bit of black to the left side of my fence and on the bottom of my bottom rail. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Little edge. I can put my pinky down on my canvas now because my canvas is a little dry. And I'm following up the edge. Just be careful. If you put it on the left on this side, you want to shift to the left over here. And then I'm just taking my little round brush and gently stroking it up. If you get to a part and you said, oh, messed that up, let it dry and then come back with white. It's totally fine. But the trick is to, yes, in fact, let it dry. Okay? And again, we're going to do the same thing here along the bottom of this railing. You see? Okay. Okay. Oh, it's starting to look so good, you guys. Okay. I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to dry it off. And we have had all the paint that we need. I'm going back to my seagrass. Now, again, when you do grasses, you might want to practice. I have this piece of paper here I can practice on. Let me show you. I'm just going to draw a line here because I want you to realize what I'm doing. Say that's the bottom of our canvas. When I do grasses, it is easier for me to turn my surface upside down. Okay? So we're going to get a nice point. We're going to come in here with our mint green or our sea glass, whatever it is. We're going to come to the very edge of our canvas and we're going to pull and flick. Pull and flick. Pull and flick. Some are thicker. Some are thinner. Some are longer. Some are shorter. Some go to the left. Some go to the right. They cross over, but it is easier to pull. Okay. You can do the same thing with your chisel brush. I'm going to come over here with my flat brush rather. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to load the green onto my brush. You can do the same thing. Stand on the chisel edge and flick. Stand on the chisel edge, flick. Stand on the chisel edge, flick. And this is a flick of the wrist. So as opposed to before where we wanted to move from our shoulder, we wanted all our horizontal lines to blend. We want to move from our shoulder. When we do our grasses, we're flicking our wrist. So at the top of our grasses are pointier and the bottom of our grasses are thicker. Back to my canvas. I think I'm going to put out a little bit more green paint. Okay, I'm going to turn my canvas upside down. I'm going to use my flat brush. You use whichever brush you are more comfortable with. I'm going to get a decent amount of paint on my brush by putting a little bit of pressure into it at the side of the pile. I'm going to come down to the very edge. We don't want our grass floating. I'm going to come down to the very edge. And don't forget, we want to cover up the bases of our fence posts. Okay, I'm going to stand my brush up. And I'm going to start flicking. I'm going to flick up. I'm going to flick sideways. I'm going to flick to the left. I'm going to flick to the right. And I'm just going to add as much grass to the bottom of my painting as I like. And this is totally up to you. The only thing you want to make sure you do again is to cover up the bottom of the fence posts. That one was a little thick, but that's okay. I can usually get about 2 or 3 out of one paint swipe, but it also depends on your brush. different brushes hold different amounts of paint. Okay. And you can make it as thick or as sparse as you want down here. I tend to be a little bit of a minimalist. Sometimes I get carried away painting, but I do tend to be a little bit of a minimalist when I'm painting. And so I always, most of the time, feel like less is more. If I'm adding to my paint or to my project, my design or whatever, it's usually because I've gotten in the zone and I'm just in la la land and I continue to paint. It's not by design choice. By design choice, I am usually much more minimal. Sometimes less is more. And you can add in, like I said, if you want to put grass on your whole bottom, you can. I like to keep a little pathway open there. So I'm just leaving that. Come back over here, add a little bit more. Okay. And then this is, don't be scared, you guys. We're now going to pick up a little bit of black on our dirty brush, just a little bit. You don't want to go all the way full in. Just want to come over here to the edge. And we're just going to add a little bit of black to our grasses. That's it. Not too much. We didn't clean our brush. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more for the other side using the dirty brush. And I'm just going to come in here, couple a little black ones. I have them all going the same way, so I think I want to have one of these cross this way. And there it is. So I'm going to turn this back around. I'm going to go back to my round brush. Dry that off. And I want to put a second coat up here on my sun. I want my sun to be really vibrant. I want to really pop. After all, it is about the sun setting on this beautiful water. Now, if you think your seagulls were a little too thick, you can just come in here with a little bit of white and soften them up a little bit. Again, I'm doing the same thing as I did on the fence post, this time opposite with white on the black. Little tiny strokes. Little tiny strokes just to soften and narrow up the black a little bit. Turn you guys around. And there we have it. There's our beautiful pastel sunset, summer sunset. I hope you enjoyed this class. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.